Don't focus on the likes, the follows, the shares. The majority of people that reach out to me that don't like, don't comment, don't engage, I don't even know they're watching my stuff. But 6 months, 12 months, 18 months after I started, I get a DM and they're like, hey, Alex, we've been watching you for X amount of time.
Yes.
We'd like to work with you, like to buy or sell. It's any of these social media platforms. I have zero expectations for at least 3 to 6 months. Many people get so caught up in thinking what other people are thinking to them. But if you're someone who follows me, you probably couldn't tell me what I posted on my story yesterday or 3 days ago. We all think that other people unfortunately care more about what we're doing than they actually do.
Is it still good time for someone new to start on a TikTok? They can still gain traction?
Definitely. The real estate market's too saturated. TikTok's too saturated. YouTube's too saturated. Whatever you look for, somebody's going to be telling you that it's oversaturated, but the cream always rises to the top. There's always opportunity. You don't just put out one video and start to attract clients. You're not going to be the best at it right away. So getting behind a camera is going to build your confidence. It's going to make you a better communicator. You're going to be able to reach more people, but visibility beats ability. If people don't know who you are, there is no ability to actually utilize you for business. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't, but how are you ever going to know if you don't get started? For anybody who's watching this, like there's so much potential out there without having a large following to generate business from it.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. Thank you for taking the time out and coming to the platform, buddy. Tell us a little bit backstory about yourself.
Sure. I'll try and give you a quick Cole's Notes. I didn't plan to get into real estate originally, which I think is the same backstory for a lot of people. I was actually going to university for kinesiology, the science of human movement. What I realized during that time period is I've always been passionate about health and fitness and everything else, but when you're going through the university phase, you just kind of have your blinders on and you don't see all the other opportunities out there. So my mom was actually in the business previously, or still is. Had always like brought up the conversation of like, do you want to work in the industry? And I was always like, I'm not a salesman. I don't have the right personality for it. Like, it's not a good fit for me. And then I had a bit of a break in between when I got my bachelor's degree. And I was just out working for the city of Surrey. And during that time period, I started to get really into personal development, reading business books, mindset, all that kind of stuff. And over that time, I actually came to the realization that I could be whoever I wanted to and do whatever I wanted to. And that sales isn't kind of a one-trick pony, right? Like there's so many different types of, even if you want to call, I guess you can call a salesman, but I always had the interpretation that it was these like pushy bulldog in-your-face people, and I never wanted to be that person. And then I realized like I can be an educator and consultant and just provide people with options and not be the person that, is in your face trying to force you to make a decision, because that always made me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So, and then based off of that, I got my foot in the door because my mom was already in the business. So that was a great stepping stone, because I think it's always great to have some sort of mentorship. It's a tough business to get into on your own. And then from there, I think, part of the reason why I'm on here today is I got really into social media, content creation, and that sort of stuff, which I'll tell you right now, a lot of people are surprised when I tell them, but my greatest fear is public speaking, like without a doubt.
Yes, that's the biggest fear of, I guess, after spiders. It's even bigger than the fear of snakes and spider. The public speaking is, I guess about 60% people have the same fear of public speaking. But I guess you're still doing pretty good. I mean, when we see your videos on social media and stuff, you're pretty good in front of camera. So how long has you been in the real estate industry, Alex? How long have you been a real estate agent?
So just coming up on my 4th year in March, I believe.
Okay. How is it going for you so far in the last 3 years? How's the business been, and how's the transition been from a traditional agent to a TikTok agent, which is, I guess you're pretty heavy on the TikTok side. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I guess in the local market, I guess you are the real estate agent with the biggest following as far as I know. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think there's probably, there's like Max Hasman, who does the luxury listings out in Vancouver. I'm not sure if there's anyone, I guess, with a larger following in the Surrey-Langley area, which is where I primarily operate. But yeah, even just touching on that is like, it doesn't necessarily matter at the end of the day. I think it is correlated to an extent to like the quality of things that you're putting out. But for anybody who's watching this, like there's so much potential out there without having a large following to, generate business from it. And there's just so many other byproducts of getting yourself on camera that I had never thought about before. Maybe we'll touch on that later on.
Absolutely. And how did you decide to go, on a social media route? How did you decide to make videos on TikTok especially? I guess that's the first platform you started, I believe. Then, because now, yep.
Well, I kind of started on Instagram actually,
Okay.
but I didn't, explode by any means. It's just like what I actually did is I would create videos while I was learning stuff. I would literally learn something within the business and I would make a video about it, because the best way to learn is to teach. And so I was doing that over time, and the videos were awful. Like, they were so bad. A lot of them were just like read off a teleprompter, super like monotone, no energy, no confidence.
Yeah.
But obviously everyone has to start somewhere, right?
Absolutely.
And you don't just put out one video and start to attract clients, or,
No.
you're not going to be the best at it right away. So what I actually did is, I started on Instagram and I just really learned that platform for the first year. And then kind of when COVID hit, there was about a 2-month period roughly where everyone was kind of contained indoors. There's just a lot of uncertainty, so wasn't necessarily pushing clients to make decisions or anything else. It was more so, if somebody had to make a move, then we were doing that, but there just wasn't a lot going on.
Yeah.
So I saw this, new platform, new opportunity, and nobody else was doing it. And I was honestly, I made 2 accounts at first, one personal one where I was just kind of messing around, and then a real estate one. And I thought, I could be a funny guy and like make this other account blow up. But like my 3rd or 4th video in, I made a video about, what the minimum down payment is on a home. And it went to like over 100,000 views. And I had never got anywhere near that exposure on any other platform. And I was like, wow, there's something here. When I originally started, I thought it was 14 to 16-year-olds lip singing and dancing.
Yeah.
And it really just turned into more of a informational, educational platform, I think, over time.
Yeah, no, I think that's the biggest. Even still, many people have the same, idea about the TikTok, that it's more for like, teenagers or for the young kids. But where I guess I have seen over the last couple of years, TikTok has really matured. Like the audience and even the creators have really gone to a different level now. There's so much educational stuff. There is so much other stuff than just dancing and lip sync. So yeah, I totally agree. Now, how was the first video that so tell us a little bit about when you decided to go on the TikTok, and the first video that you made. How easy or how uncomfortable was that? Because there are many people who want to get started, but it's just about getting started. So was it easy for you to get started, or you had to, how did it go?
I guess I had been making videos on Instagram previously, but TikTok was a little bit different because that was some of the first short form content per se that I started to create. So part of it was definitely uncomfortable. I was trying to just like see what other people were doing and adopt to their trends. And, you're pointing at the bubbles, and I wasn't really sure. So it was definitely a lot of testing going on. Because on Instagram, I had already been putting out more like educational stuff that was a little bit dry. And I thought, this isn't going to work here. So what it actually taught me to do is I'm a little bit like long spoken. Like, I'm actually more suited for platforms like YouTube.
Okay.
But I was forced to condense 5 minutes of information into 30 seconds, or at least get the key points out, which has just, I think, made me a better educator and communicator in general, right? Because I think if you over-explain too many things, it's just not helpful especially to consumers that don't have the same level of knowledge and aren't in our day-to-day business, which I think a lot of us often forget.
I guess that's the biggest hurdle many people face when they have to, compress or like even little chunks of information in like a 30-second video or 60-second video. We tend to go, in a more detail and stuff. So that's the biggest challenge many people face, I believe. So how is the platform right now? Is it, if somebody wants to start right now on TikTok or social media platform, do you think they're already oversaturated? Is it still good time for someone new to start on a TikTok? They can still gain traction. What do you think about that?
Definitely. People are always going to say that about absolutely everything out there, right? The real estate market's too saturated. TikTok's too saturated. YouTube's too saturated. Whatever you look for, somebody's going to be telling you that it's oversaturated. But, the cream always rises to the top. There's always opportunity. You can be your own person. I always like to tell people this, like, if we're saying the exact same thing, somebody's going to connect better with you. Someone's going to connect better with me, even if we're providing the exact same information. Yes. So my thing has always been like, have a mindset of abundance. That's why I like to do things like get on these types of interviews and just see what sort of value I can provide to other people, because I'm not scared of it taken away from my business. If somebody is a better fit for you, that's awesome, right? Like
100%.
there's enough pie out there for everybody. So you're going to find your niche. I think it takes some time. You may not know what it is right away, but obviously you've done a fantastic job with that. And the other part that I like about it is, in my opinion, TikTok has the lowest barrier to entry.
Yes.
Because with some of these other platforms, for instance, like YouTube, which I've really kind of dove into in this past year, that's living there for a longer period of time. It's searchable. It lives on Google. You do kind of want it to be a little more polished and be a little more prepared behind it, versus TikTok. I think of it as an Instagram story. Like, it may live for a couple of days or even potentially a week, but after a certain period of time, the shelf life, or like the overall time that it's exposed to people, it's typically done. So I think part of that is you don't need the fancy setups. Like, we got some pretty nice setups, what we're going on right now, but what I've actually noticed is the more authentic, genuine, just like off the cuff content's actually working the best right now.
TikTok is more for the raw stuff, I believe, so as Alex said, you don't need all this setup. You don't need fancy lights. You don't need fancy cameras. I guess up to my 25,000 followers, and I did about 22 deals from TikTok, and I made all those videos just using my basic camera and just a ring light. So, because many people stop there, they don't start creating videos. They're thinking about, they're going to need all these fancy cameras or lighting or all the software and stuff. I think that all comes later. First, you just have to get started. You just have to get used to making the content with whatever you have. That's the biggest thing. Just get going. Once you get the hang of it, once you get to start to create more and more videos, and then down the line, you can always upgrade your gear. You can always buy better cameras and stuff. But I guess in the beginning, as Alex said, it's not about the setup. It's just about you making the commitment, starting to create the videos, and just going with it.
Yeah, that's it. And I've actually kind of cross-tested, because I'll post on both Instagram and TikTok, and the professional stuff that I do on Instagram that does well just flops on TikTok, but then vice versa. So it's kind of funny. As I said, I've tried to like learn each platform, but you just need to just get started, right? Like, you don't need all this fancy equipment. It actually, I almost think it hinders you at times, but it's just
it does definitely. I guess Instagram, for the Instagram, I guess raw material does work, but more polished material does a little bit better on the Instagram. But where TikTok is, polished videos does work on TikTok as well, but raws, they do as good as polished ones. So don't let those things stop you from making the videos. Just start creating, and just get on the platforms. What is your content creating strategy, Alex? Like, how do you do it? Do you batch record? Do you do single videos every day? Do you write down your scripts? Like what's your process?
So it's a little bit different for every platform, but I definitely batch record. I try and keep a list of ideas, or one of the things that I like to do is showcase different articles. So kind of the green screen in the background, because then the ideas are kind of being put forth for me, and I'm able to just kind of state my opinion on them and showcase what's in the article, and then how I feel about it, and then get a response from the audience. It's a little bit different for everything. Typically for TikTok, I'm not scripted at all. Just kind of whatever I have on top of my mind, and I can just get it off quickly. Versus another platform. Yeah, exactly. But then in comparison, if I'm at like YouTube or specific Instagram videos, I will be a bit more thoughtful and laid out and have bullet points. And I have recently invested in a teleprompter for YouTube.
Okay.
Not for the fact that I can't do it off the bullet points, but it has just kind of streamlined the process of editing and just getting the videos done a lot quicker.
Of course.
And I think you have to almost get to a certain point, because there's almost a skill to it. You have to be comfortable with it, because you still want it to sound natural. If you're sounding like a robot while reading off a script, then I think it kind of loses what you're adding to that content, right? As I said before, if we're presenting the exact same thing, you kind of want to add your sense of humor, your personality, and these other things that people are going to be able to connect with.
100%, yes, yeah. So now, what is, if someone, like for a new agent, do you think it's important for a new agent to get on the platform and take advantage of the, I guess there's a lot of organic reach on TikTok as we talking, and I guess because of TikTok now even Instagram and YouTube, they're also copying like reels and shorts. So organic reach on those platforms are also getting a little bit better, I believe, because of TikTok, because TikTok is a challenge for other platforms. So how important it is right now for a newer agent to start on social media, and how can they take advantage of this?
It's extremely important, because the sooner you get started, it just does so many other things. Even just the fact of like getting behind a camera is going to build your confidence. It's going to make you a better communicator. You're going to be able to reach more people. And the thing that I always tell people is you can be the best agent in the world, but visibility beats ability. So if people don't know who you are, there is no ability to actually utilize you for business, right? And I think, of course, when you can marry the two, visibility and ability, that's where the greatest agents come out. But obviously, it takes time to build up those skill sets as well.
Yes.
But there, as you were saying, the short form content is really pushing right now, especially I think they are all kind of competing with TikTok. And the sooner you get on, the more you're going to kind of find your voice and find the audience that you're speaking to. And maybe you like it, maybe you don't, but how are you ever going to know if you don't get started?
Absolutely. And I was going through one of the presentations that you sent me last week. I asked you to send me one of your presentation, and I was reading one of the things that you mentioned. Start with the stories that disappear after 24 hours, which, I really like that idea. So do you want to tell the audience a little bit about like what is the benefit of starting with the stories and how they help you build the confidence?
Yeah, and I think we can approach it in two different ways. If you're comfortable in putting a story on Instagram, I like to tell people to do what I call a post and ghost. So take your story, post it, don't even look at it again, forget about it. It's gone in 24 hours. So many people get so caught up in thinking what other people are thinking of them. But if you're someone who follows me, you probably couldn't tell me what I posted on my story yesterday or 3 days ago or anything else. You might know that you've seen me, but you have no recollection. And the reason being is that we're all so caught up in our own lives, but we also we all think that other people, unfortunately, care more about what we're doing than they actually do, right? So if you can kind of just like get over that, and the fact that, again, it's gone in 24 hours. So if it's, you're not going to be perfect at first, it's going to get you the reps in that will get you better. And then you can, put out more polished or stuff that you're more confident in on an actual feed that will stay there for a given period of time.
Totally, no. Yeah, no, that's a very solid advice, I guess, because it's only out there for 24 hours, and just get started with the stories, and they can definitely help you gain that confidence in front of camera and stuff like that. Totally. So Alex, if knowing what you know now, you've been in the business for 3 years now, you've been on the social media, you've been you're successful in your line of work. If you have to start over, if let's say Alex is starting again, what is the one thing that you would do different now with your knowledge and experience that you have?
I think it's actually an easy one. So personally, my backstory is that when I first got into the business, I thought I had to always be professional and like speak very well and be like, wearing suits all the time. And what I come to realize, it was just coming from some sort of an insecurity of feeling like I needed to prove myself to other people because I was new in the business. Whereas as soon as I kind of gained that confidence, which came through creating videos and educating myself and everything else that goes along with it, and I started to just incorporate more things about my own life, that's actually when more people started to reach out to me, right? So of course we want to create educational and entertaining content about real estate, but you don't want to cut out your personal life as well, because that's what people really connect with. So if I was to go back, I would have just kept more true to myself per se, and not tried to, just be who I thought people wanted me to be.
Okay, so just be more yourself, just be more authentic, more, just be yourself. That's the basic thing too, because that's even people like it, I guess, when you show your real self. Because I guess you got to remember, especially in our line of work, because we are on the social media, when somebody sees your video, they approaches you. Now you go to meet them in person. Now the person who watched in the video had a different personality than a person they're gonna see in person. So that's not gonna make that connection, right? So 100% yes. Just be yourself. Don't try to copy somebody, because everybody's unique. Everybody have their own style. You don't have to copy me. You don't have to copy Alex, or you don't have to copy anybody else. Just be yourself. Be authentic, and your your own style and your own vibe, like how they say, your vibe is gonna attract your tribe. So there are a group of people out there who are gonna connect with you. So yeah, just be authentic, be yourself, and that's absolutely a gold nugget right there from Alex. Thank you. And where was the plan for 2023 for Alex? Where do you see what's happening? Any big things happening for you next year?
There are a lot of big things. I don't know if I can talk about them quite yet, but
maybe a little sneak peek.
Yeah, what I will speak on is I'm going to have a major push on YouTube. That is personally the platform that I see the most value in right now. Like I am still consistently being on TikTok, and it's just I found that, well, I'll give you the quick explanation, is the fact that YouTube is not necessarily social media when you actually look at it. It's actually a search platform. It's the number 2 search platform in the world. Google's the number 1, and who owns YouTube? Google. So you can actually come across these videos while you're on searching on Google. And so the importance behind this is it's a different kind of marketing, because it's intent based, because people are looking and coming across you, versus this other one on all the other platforms for the most part is you're kind of, it's like almost like a pattern interrupt. You're just being forced in front of people, which is good. It's good. It's more of a high level part of the funnel per se. But most of the people that see you aren't like, I want to buy a home right now, right? Versus somebody that's actually searching like, oh, I'm thinking about moving to Langley. Where do I want to go? Okay, top 5 neighborhoods. All of a sudden they come across your video. You're the expert because they don't know anyone else from the area. And they're like, hey, Alex, we're actually looking to move right now. Versus the other platforms where, it's a 6, 12, 18-month cycle before anything actually happens.
So we'll be seeing a lot more Alex on YouTube in 2023, that means.
Yes.
Perfect.
And then I think just overall expanding the business. And then from a personal standpoint, just trying to bring a little more balance into my life, I would say. Just, have just been pushing so hard and have maybe neglected going to the gym and doing some of these other things that I definitely need to get back on track with. But I think, there's no perfect balance in life, without a doubt. There's, you're going to go through times, ebbs and flows, and, just listen to yourself, I think.
Content creation, it can be, it's very time consuming, that's for sure. You have to do your research if you really want to create some good content, if you really want to put some engaging videos out there. So I guess every creator have to spend some time, you have to plan it, then you have to shoot it, then you have to edit it. How do you stay consistent? Like, do you ever feel like burned out, or do you ever feel like, maybe some videos they do pretty good, but then few videos they don't do that good? So when you see your videos not doing, getting that many views or like or engagement, does that discourage you? Do you pay attention to that kind of stuff? Or how do you keep yourself motivated every single day? Because you're very consistent with your post and social media and your videos and everything. So what's the magic formula behind that? Staying motivated and staying consistent.
Yeah, I think you touched on a couple of things there. I have definitely been burnt out before, and I think you need to give yourself some time off as well to just have that creativity come back to you, right? I think it's important to take space away from the business. As most of us know, within the business, it's always on your mind for the most part, but to give yourself space will actually allow you to be more creative. So batching content, as you kind of talked about, is a fantastic thing, because then you're not thinking every single day, oh my God, it's 4 o'clock and I promised myself I'd post by 5. You've already got stuff lined up for the next 1, 2, 3 weeks. So that definitely helps. And when you're kind of in the zone or in flow and you're able to maybe record and produce a lot more content, like take advantage of those times, because it'll give you the ability to kind of step away from it, or maybe your business starts to pick up and you don't necessarily have the time to do those other things. So I think one of the big things is scheduling it, because if you treat it like a hobby, it's going to pay you like a hobby. If you treat it like a business, it's going to pay you like a business. And
100%,
I think it can be tough for some of us to realize that it's actually a form of prospecting or educating current clients as well, because there's many ways to use video. It doesn't necessarily always have to be in the attraction process. So I personally will usually do 1 day a week, and I'll schedule it extremely early in the morning, like 5 a.m. to 9, and then I have no distractions. So not to say you have to do it then, but you know, if you're between 10 and 2, so many things come up with our business. You get phone calls, something comes up, you have to run off to a showing, you got to go drop off keys. If you plan it during a time where you can be interrupted, you're probably going to get interrupted.
Yes,
but
100%.
Maybe if you're a night owl, do it from 7 to 11 p.m. or something like that. Just figure out a time in your schedule that's going to work best for you that you can commit to. Yeah, and the other point I'm going to make is, I always like to say, is like reduce the number of friction points you have. So for example, if you're going to the gym early in the morning, what are the friction points? Okay, you got to figure out an outfit. You got to get your pre-workout. You got to get your post-workout. You have to have your lunch and your change of clothes for afterwards. But if you set that all up the night before, now all of a sudden you just get up and go and everything's already done. The same thing with content creation. So me personally, I have my whole setup in front of me. And the whole reason for that was so I can just click one button and that's it. And then I can hit record, go from there, no fumbling with SD cards or setting up cameras or the mic or anything else. And so it's made the process very streamlined.
That easier, yes.
And then, as I said, there's just less things that are going to get in the way that you're going to make excuses for or not feel like doing it. So I guess my tip for anyone, you don't necessarily have to have a studio or anything set up, but if you're going to plan for it, set it up beforehand. Like, have a plan going into it. Don't just kind of wing it. And I think it'll keep you a lot more consistent.
Yeah, no, that's totally right. It's just about moving all the hurdles, just keeping it as simple as possible. Because again, us humans, especially when you're starting up, your brain is going to come up with so many excuses to tell you not to do it. Because obviously in the beginning, it's going to feel very uncomfortable because you have to step outside of your comfort zone to create the content, to make that video, to face the camera. So the less distractions, less hurdles will keep in the way, the easier it'll be to create the content. So I totally agree with Alex right there. Make it easier, especially in the beginning, and then you can start to get all fancy later down the road. Once you're in that groove of making content on a regular basis, then there's definitely, you can use all the fancy softwares and equipment that you want to use out there. Now, Alex, we are in a shifting market right now. The market is a lot different what we had in the beginning of this year. So the agents, especially the new agents or even the seasoned agent who are out there, and they're kind of struggling with the business at this point, what do you want to suggest to them who are feeling kind of a little demotivated right now, or they're feeling like they are being pushed out of the market because of the less lead flow or less volume of deals that's happening? What do you want to suggest? What do you want to advise them?
I think a lot of people preach this, but I don't know how many people actually do it, is just to double down. Take what you have control over. My big thing is, don't be so focused on the outcome. So for instance, if we're setting goals, maybe you want to do 20 transactions in a year or something like that. How can we reverse engineer that to get you to that point? Because you don't necessarily have complete control. You can do everything in your power right, and something can go wrong. The buyer can back out. The inspection can go poorly. And that's not your fault. You've done everything right. But if we put ourselves into those positions more and more times, that's going to increase our probability of being successful. So how do we reverse engineer that? Okay, well, if I say to myself, I'd like to make, 250 videos this year, right? Okay, well, how many is that? That's about 5 videos a week. Okay, well, how many videos did that come down to in a day? Or do I have one day where I can film all 5 videos?
Yep.
So focus a lot more on the actual daily tasks, and the outcome will come. I like to call it having an aggressive patience. So for instance, when I started on any of these social media platforms, I have 0 expectations for at least 3 to 6 months. Anything I get prior to that, that's a bonus. And I have gotten it. Every single time I have actually gotten it, but I don't know if you've ever seen the representation of, it's like 2 guys mining in a hole, and one guy quits because he didn't reach the diamonds and he doesn't realize that he's about this far away. And the other guy continues on and ends up getting, the whole jackpot gold mine. Totally. And that's why I always tell people, it's just like focus on what's in your control, have an aggressive patience, aggressively attack the things you have control over. The results will come. It could be 2 months, it could be 6 months. you don't necessarily have complete control over it, but if you're doing the right things on a daily basis and you can look at it, and it's do measurable tasks as well, right? So have a,
Yes.
whether it's a checklist, whether it's a calendar, whether it's an accountability partner, but be honest with yourself and say, am I doing the things that should put me in a higher probability position to actually be, reaching my end goals?
Yes. Yeah, and that's another thing I see. You know what? I see so many new, like agents. They're starting their TikTok or Instagram account. They will put 2 videos, 3 videos out. They don't see any results. They don't see any return, or they don't see any ROI quick enough, and they'll just give up. So I guess we're in the culture of this instant gratification, because when we post a video, we just want to get the results right away. We don't have patience. I mean, for some reason, we have stopped looking into the bigger visions or long-term vision. We are just into the, we want to do this thing now and we want the results right away. Otherwise, we're not doing it. So that's really putting, I guess, many people behind in the social media train, I guess. And someone like you who's consistent, who's not attaching himself to the outcome. You're just creating the videos, putting it out there, and not attaching yourself to outcome. Is it going to go viral? Is it not going to go viral? Is it going to get, how many likes? Doesn't matter. Every day, keep putting the videos out there, or at least 2, 3, or 4 days, whenever, whatever works for you, keep doing that. And detach yourself from the outcome. Don't expect anything for at least 3 to 6 months, as Alex said. And if you can stay committed and consistent for at least 6 months, I would say, I can guarantee 100% you will see some kind of results, but you have to stay committed and consistent with content creation.
Yeah, I was going to say, it also takes a certain amount of time for people to consistently see you on camera to build that level of trust.
100%.
And then just touching back on what you said before, is just always just be focusing on making yourself a little bit better. And the example I like to give people is, I can train as much as I want, become the fastest version of myself, and I'm still going to lose to Usain Bolt in a race. Now, am I going to be upset by that outcome? Physically, there's no way for me to beat that human being, right?
Yes.
But have I run my best race? Have I done all the training to make sure that I run it in the quickest amount of time? And that's what you have control over. And then one more thing as well, touching back on that instant gratification piece, that's just kind of something that's within our society, and within social media as well, unfortunately, because you have all these people that are flexing their fancy cars and watches and all these other things. And half the time it's not even reality, right? It's just kind of a facade. But something that I've really noticed, and that again relates to this piece, is don't focus on the likes, the follows, the shares. They do correlate with, the level of content over time, but the majority of people, and specifically on Instagram, that reach out to me that don't like, don't comment, don't engage, I don't even know they're watching my stuff, but 6 months, 12 months, 18 months after I started, I get a DM and they're like, hey Alex, we've been watching you for X amount of time.
Yes.
We'd like to work with you, like to buy or sell. It's just, I've realized a lot of these platforms they've just become a little more passive over time. You can think about yourself when you're scrolling. It's so easy to just flick to the next one. Like, how many videos do you actually go out of your way to like, right?
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that part. Yes, it's I think it's pretty regular, because I do get that kind of calls as well. They are not follower, they don't follow me, but my videos kind of keep popping on their feed for months and months, so they know who this person is, and then they'll call you whenever they're ready. They might not be ready today, but if they keep watching, if you're keep popping on their screen, so down the road, whenever they're ready, they're gonna give you a call, because you already have built that relationship with them. You have already touched enough touches with them, and then whenever they're ready to go, you will get a call from them 100%. So, Alex, do you read books? Do you listen to podcasts?
Yeah, I haven't done as much physical reading, but as I kind of mentioned before, when I was getting into real estate, I was very heavy on actually consuming book form. But I think we drive so much now that I do a lot more audiobooks.
Okay.
Audiobooks and podcasts. So I still do that a lot. I kind of shift back and forth between heavily just listening to all real estate stuff and then more mindset business stuff. I go back and forth a bit, but yes, I definitely love to read or digest
is there
it.
a book? Perfect. Is there a book or two that you want to recommend?
I would say Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. And he is, if you're not familiar with him, he's kind of the modern day stoic. And so I like to implement a lot of stoicism into my life. And he was actually a friend of mine that's in the business, kind of got me on his path when I first got into the business. And I think it's super important because we go through so many emotional highs and lows, and to have some sort of stoicism within our lives and be able to keep ourselves a little bit level-headed. We need to be able to do that both for ourselves, for our families, for our clients, because it is such a roller coaster of emotion business. So I think that's extremely important.
I'll definitely check it out. Ego is enemy. Anything else you want to suggest to the agents out there?
One thing I think would just be to, if you're going to pick a platform, like pick one platform to start and try and learn it to the best of your abilities. I'm not saying don't get on all the other ones, but if you try to do too much and spread yourself too thin, I think that you'll probably end up speaking to nobody. So as I said, I went back and I did Instagram. I took a year, and then I did TikTok for a year, and then did YouTube for a year. And I'm still posting on all of them at the same time, but just really understanding what it is that those require to, get the results that you're looking for. Otherwise, I think you have to be very intentional with what you're doing.
And I guess have patience. That's next biggest thing. Once you start posting, have patience. Don't expect, something coming. Maybe you're lucky, maybe your first or second video can go viral and you will start getting calls, but the chances are very low. So have patience, committed and consistent. Those are the key factors, I guess, you have to do. Thank you so much, Alex. We really appreciate you giving the time and all the knowledge sharing with us. Do you want to share your number or your handles so people can follow you? I'm going to mention them in the description as well.
Sure. Yeah. I guess I'll give you my personal Instagram, and you can go over to my business if you want to, but it's Alex R. Dunbar. That's for my personal Instagram. My TikTok is Dunbar Real Estate. My YouTube is Living in the Lower Mainland. I know I wish they were all the same. And I think those are probably the three main platforms, as well as cell phone 604-314-5418 or alex@dunbargroup.ca. And always happy to chat or provide insight to anybody who's interested. Sometimes I feel like I'm actually a better coach on some of these platforms than what I'm able to put out. But I just like to help other people to build their businesses and just get on video, because I think it's so powerful.
Yes, 100%. It is very powerful. I'm also going to link all those channels and phone number down below. So make sure to go follow Alex. And if you have any questions, reach out to him. He's very approachable. He's very helpful. So reach out to him, give him a follow. And again, thank you so much, Alex. It's been a great talk. We appreciate all the golden nuggets and the insights that you provided. And thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me now. It was a lot of fun.